Hello. Today we're going to be talking about Objective 10.4, differentiation. Explain how cells become specialized for different functions. Let's start by thinking about this. The human body contains 100 trillion cells, and it all started back with one sperm and one egg combining to form one cell. So, how did you go from being one cell to being 100 trillion cells that are all different from each other? Do you know what I mean? Because you have skin cells and heart cells and nerve cells and liver cells, and yet they all came from one cell. How could that one cell turn into all of these different cell types? The answer is through cell differentiation. I want you to notice the word different in differentiation. So differentiation literally means to become different or to become specialized. Like a cell specializes into a heart cell, or a cell specializes into a kidney cell. Cells develop from stem cells. Stem cells are unspecialized cells from which differentiated cells develop. So, like when the sperm and egg combine and form one cell, that would be a stem cell. We're going to talk about two types of stem cells. The first type are embryonic stem cells. An embryo is what we call basically like a developing fetus, like the first few cells there would be considered an embryo. And embryonic stem cells are really special because they can form literally any cell type. Like your 100 trillion cells all came from those embryonic stem cells. And the other type of stem cell that we're going to talk about are adult stem cells. So these are stem cells that you actually still have, even though you are no longer an embryo. Adult stem cells are not quite as powerful as embryonic stem cells because they can only form a few cell types. Think about like your skin and your blood. We're constantly losing skin cells and we need to be able to replace them. So we have to have adult stem cells to be able to produce more skin cells. This is a nice graphic of differentiation. So in the middle there, we have our stem cells, and then notice they're developing into muscle cells, blood cells, and nerve cells. So this would be an example of embryonic stem cells differentiating to be able to form a person. I thought you might appreciate this. There's two snowmen, and one snowman says to the other one, "Look, stem cells." And they are, of course, pointing at snowflakes in the sky. You might be wondering how this happens. Gene expression is the key to differentiation. Take a minute, you should remember gene expression from our protein synthesis chapter. Gene expression describes how different cells have different genes turned on or off, also known as expressed or repressed. For example, we talked about how prokaryotes use operons to be able to turn their genes on and off. This is the kind of trick to differentiation. Gene expression occurs because of certain signals in your body, both inside and outside of your cells. So, just to bring it all together, picture a stem cell, and then one cell grows into the stomach that produces stomach acid. That same cell can grow into an eye that doesn't produce stomach acid. So, all of your cells have the same DNA, but they're different because different parts of DNA are turned on or turned off. Here's a nice visual for embryonic stem cells. So we can see the sperm and egg combining, and then it forms an embryo, or basically like a collection of cells. And this is showing a scientist is actually growing them in lab and then studying how those embryonic stem cells can turn into different things. Embryonic stem cell research is controversial because studying it involves killing an embryo. So that embryo could have grown on to be born like as a baby, and instead, because we studied it, it died. And then adult stem cells. Again, not everywhere, but a few select locations in your body. This is less controversial because they can be removed from adults and the adult still continues living. There's a lot of potential for studying stem cells and regeneration. Regeneration means regrowing. You might be familiar with like lizards or sea stars who can actually lose a limb and then the limb regrows. That's because they have stem cells that allow them to regrow their body parts. So here's some links to some time-lapse videos of that happening if you're interested. And please reach out to me with your questions. You can always email me or write a question in the discussion forum. Thanks, guys.